Right guys, in this week recap, we're going to be focusing on one of the pairs that we looked at heavily last week, which is the New Zealand dollar. And what I've done over here is I've extracted the recordings of the sessions that we've done, and hopefully through this you'll be able to get or learn a thing or two to help you manage your own trade as well. Right, so without further ado, let's dive into the recordings and this week recap. Now let's take a look at New Zealand. Okay, it's interesting because it's moving right now. For the past few hours. Yesterday. Okay, so let me just remove this a little bit because we're gonna update this trade. Okay, if you're following the New Zealand dollar, you need to update this trade. Okay, so I'll remove this first. Okay, so since Monday when we talk about this trade, or in fact yesterday we did a quick recap on this as well. You can see how price did not impulse to the downside, but instead what it does is it continues going up, right? But again, the one question that we always ask ourselves, it's not just about where is price going. Okay, we want to know how is price going. Okay, so price is going higher for the past few hours and few days, but you want to ask yourself this question of how. All right, how is it going up? Okay, so you can see over here, this is very obvious. It's very slow. Okay, so when we kind of like identify, okay, that this is the pattern that price is developing, there's a much higher probability that this will come back down. Okay, again, the keyword here is a much higher probability, right? It's never going to be 100%, but we know there's a higher chance of it dropping. Okay, and with all the things that is aligned when we talk about, right, like double top over here, we do get an impulse correction. We do have this 3 times touching it. Okay, and then of course we do have this pattern, smaller one happening, the diagonal, the crawl. We do have divergence for sure. Okay, on the lower time frame, of course, right? So you can see over here we do have this divergence happening. Okay, so all this are coming together, okay, to tell us that there's a high possibility. Again, high possibility. So we are definitely looking for the short, right? Okay, we are definitely looking for that short. Let me just show this. Okay, we're looking for the short, and we are in that key fit zone as well. Okay, so I'm looking for an entry to trigger for the sell trade. Okay, and if I were to update these levels a little bit, okay, with price development. Okay, if I'm looking for that sell, okay, what I'm gonna do is based on, let's say, a 1 hour time frame. Okay, so this is much clearer on a 1 hour time frame. Okay, I'll be looking for that break once price go below this structure. Okay, so if I just string this a little bit to make it clear for every one of you, right? So you can see over here you have 1, 2, 3 as well. Okay, and then on 4 hour you have 1, 2, and of course the third time here. Okay, so looking at this, how we're gonna execute this trade, right? So I'm gonna update the entry and of course the stops a little bit as well. We're gonna base on this low over here, which is at the 668. Okay, 668. The stops is gonna go just above this current high, which is 6725. Okay, so that's about 45 pips of stops. The target is gonna be based on the fit, right, around this region, 6440. Okay, so this is the current trade idea that you might want to update, right, if you're following the New Zealand dollar. Okay, so I'm gonna update that in the Excel so that you guys have a clearer picture of the details of this trade. Okay, so let me take a screenshot. Right, the other one that would like to talk about quickly is the New Zealand dollar. Right, this trade is also in. Okay, we talk about how this has many things aligned together, and you can see again, it's not 100%, but they are high probability setup, right? So this one here, easily right now, let's shift the stops to break even. Okay, so same thing, right? Why are we doing that? Let me explain that to you, right? So this is in. Okay, so the idea here is, again, we saw an impulse, and right now we do have a small correction. Okay, so the thought process behind it is that after this strong impulse to the downside and it starts to show sign of a correction, I do not anticipate price to go back up, okay, to where we get in. If price does go back up to where I get in, I'll be more than happy to exit this trade anyway, simply because it means that it's forming perhaps another pattern already. Okay, so on a 1 hour time frame right now, the idea here is it shouldn't go back to where we enter. At most, it's gonna do is something like this, maybe getting very close to our entry, but we are anticipating from there it's gonna drop further. Okay, so again, we shift our stops to break even, and let's see how far this particular trade can continue riding. Right, our final target is still at the bottom over here, so there's still a lot of room for it to drop, and we'll just see how far this goes. Okay, so yesterday we talked about New Zealand dollar. Okay, we are in that trade, we shifted to break even, and of course, as price continue to move lower, we were talking about how we manage this trade as well. Okay, so I actually shifted my stops to like 6,640. Okay, so just tag out just before this session got started, right? We will tag out with a profit. Okay, so it's about 40 pips of profit, not really that huge, but nonetheless it's still profit, right? So this trade here, again, depending on whether you manage to shift your stops to lower to protect your profits, or if you put it at break even, okay, you might be still inside, or you might get tagged out with a trailing stop. Okay, so looking at how price is developing right now in terms of like this development here, again, I don't really like this kind of correction. Okay, it looks more like an impulse, which means we do likely see a V shape, right? So if for those of you who are familiar, we talk about this for the past few times as well, I think this week or even last week. Okay, how we do not want a correction to be so sharp, right? Forming more like a V-shaped formation. Okay, so I'm happy to get tagged out. Okay, if it's gonna continue lower, we're gonna look for another opportunity to get in. Okay, so this one here, I'm gonna remove it. Okay, because for me, I'm out of this trade with a 40 pip stop. Okay, so if you guys are still at break even, of course you can manage accordingly. You can even shift it to this high around 6,660. Okay, and see how price is going to develop from here. Okay, how I see it right now is that there's a possibility this can form a bigger correction that looks something like that, or even come out towards this high, and then from there, if this is still a correction, we can still take the trade to the downside. Okay, so the possibility is still down, nothing much has changed, just that short term wise, I would rather get out first and then look out for another opportunity to get back in. Okay, so that's a quick one on New Zealand dollar. Right, so I hope you actually benefited and learned something from this week recap. Okay, so if you haven't watched our previous weekly idea where we talk about why we are focusing on the New Zealand dollar, it will be a good time right now to take a look at the video and perhaps come back to this particular recap over here so that you have a better understanding of how we analyze right from the very start, when we execute the trade, how we manage them, what are we looking out for, and eventually how we exited this trade as well. Okay, so if you're someone who is serious and would like to take your trading to the next level, would like to join us in a community like that, we are currently offering a 7-day free trial. Okay, I've included the link in this video below in the description. Do click onto that, and you'll be able to understand more about what we do here at eSmart Mastermind. Okay, and if you're ready to join us in this journey, I'll be more than happy to welcome you. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna see you in the next video.